We're here at the MotoIQ garage. Today we're working on a 2017 Chevrolet SS. This thing is actually really cool. It's rear-wheel drive, it's got an LS. It actually comes from Australia. That's where its roots are from, as the Holden Commodore. And with that said, we have Angel Robles here from Pedders Suspension. He's gonna give us a little bit more information about what Pedders is all about and also about their new coilover suspension that we're gonna try out on this SS today.
For those who don't know, Pedders is over 65-year-old company. And in Australia, we have about 130 franchise locations that specialize in nothing more than undercar. So suspension, bushes, brakes, alignments, etc. And this allows us the unique opportunity to thoroughly vet our products. So we touch about 5,000, 5,500 cars a week. So if we put something on the market that isn't quite ready to go or up to snuff, we'll find out about it really quickly and have to revisit it and retool. So it allows us a unique opportunity to do that, whereas a lot of other manufacturers don't really have that connection to the end user. With that said, we supply a bunch of components that have to do with more of your mom and pop replacement parts, bushes and the like. But we also have another performance division where we concentrate on things like we see here today, these XA Coilovers, as well as big bore performance shocks, lowering springs, urethane bushes and the like. And this ties back to our history with V8 supercars, and as a company, most of the management are very passionate about racing and have spent time in rally cars, both professionally and as well as on the amateur level. So it's something that's really in our DNA, and it leads directly to the product you see here today. Today we have a VF Commodore coilover kit that we've decided to use this opportunity to test here in the States. We've not brought this over and tested it on our domestic market SS, but underneath they are essentially the same vehicle, so this should carry over directly. The only concern here being the lack of MRC, so that'll entail a dongle be used just to keep the light away. But other than that, these are ready to go, bolt in. They're 30-way adjustable for damping and compression, so when you make one click, both are going to be adjusted in the same way, as well as ride height adjustable. And critically, that's done here via the lower clevis, so you don't lose any of your shock travel. In the rear, it's much the same. 30-way adjustable, compression and damping together, ride height done at the shock body. And in this case, it requires a small modification to the rear of the vehicle because you have to run the adjuster up through there. So that's going to require that we drill a hole just to gain access to it. This kit in particular comes with new top mounts, and this is critical because this platform is very sensitive to the top mounts, and they will go bad. They're wear items. Another thing to point out here is that they are complete. As I mentioned, it has these top mounts, so essentially you remove the stock assemblies and you're ready to bolt these in. So you're not chasing any bumps, boots, top mounts, anything like that. This is pretty representative of what we offer as our base level coilover option. From there, we typically have upgrade paths. A lot of applications will have a camber plate available. If you'd like to go that route, perhaps you're tracking the car, or you're running a more aggressive tire that needs more camber up front. And then in many cases, we have another level above this that we call the V8 supercar. And it's literally same body with a remote reservoir, and now the compression and rebound are separated. So if you're tracking the car, if you're really serious about getting the car dialed in, that's the sort of setup you'd want to go to because it gives you complete control. Now that's not available for every platform, but for many. The G8's a good example. The predecessor to this will have all three of those levels available for it currently from US stock.
Our new Pedders eXtreme XA Coilovers are now on this Chevy SS, and we're taking it on its initial test drive, getting a real good feel for it. We drove the car around for a couple days in completely stock form to really feel it out. The car does come, or did come, with the mag ride suspension, which is an adjustable suspension. It gave you 3 settings between your normal mode, sport mode, and then performance mode. I will say that the Pedders Coilovers ride just about as comfortable as the sport mode, right in between sport and performance mode. They're not super, really obnoxiously stiff, The car does feel sportier. It's moving along with the road. It's not just squishing around and jiggling around, especially in turns. Right now we're driving around Palos Verdes, the coastal area, which has a lot of turns, but at the same time, because of what happens with the ground here, it tends to move a lot, and it's a lot of potholes, not just potholes, but just a lot of irregularities on the road. So you get a really good feel of how good a suspension is working, especially when under load you're already compressed and then bumps come along. And I must say that the car feels very balanced, very comfortable. I really have no complaints about it. Now, I'm sure if you look at the windows, you can see how the car is absorbing or going along with the road. You can see my belly's not exactly shaking a whole lot, so the suspension is doing its job by absorbing the bumps. Now, the suspension does have 30 clicks of adjustments. We set this is all 4 corners at 15, so right smack in the middle. As far as lowering, we've lowered the car 1 inch on all 4 corners as well from stock ride height. We're coming up to some part of the road where it's actually pretty bumpy, and there's some good elevation changes here, but the bumps come up like that one there. Car did not bottom out. Even that one there, no bottoming out, so it's really absorbing the bumps. You can see there's no weird creakies, no weird clunks or pops. Now, a big part of that is because the top hats and a lot of the mounting hardware is very OE-like. So for example, with these XA eXtreme Coilovers on the front, the rubber bushing that is part of the top hat, that is actually a known part to actually go bad, or at least wear out. The rear top hat on the suspension, according to the instruction, required us to drill a hole in the top hat. It's very thick. It's a tall top hat, and you have to kind of drill a hole on the side of it. The reason for that was to be able to access the adjuster for the suspension. But since this car came with the mag ride suspension, there was actually already a hole there because of the wiring for the mag ride suspension. So we didn't have to do anything. Everything else is pretty much straightforward installation. No hiccups, no surprises. Now, talking about the rubber top hats, as Angel mentioned earlier in the video, in case you didn't catch it, they do offer camber plate options and even external reservoir options with adjustability for the rebound and the compression independently. Unlike these, where yes, compression and rebound are adjusted when you turn the knob, but it's all one inclusive thing. You're not adjusting it independently. So there are some upgrade options, especially for those G8 fans out there. Pedders offers a complete line of parts and suspension packages for those cars. Now, this suspension, the XA eXtreme Coilover for this SS, this is really the first one to make it into the States. They weren't really planning on necessarily selling it, but you know, we came calling and said, hey, we got an SS. You know, you guys are from Australia and got a lot of experience with those Commodores. Help us out here. So we're really kind of testing it out. So far, it feels great. If there's anything that the US market does need to know, if your car came with the mag ride suspension such as this one, when you will need some resistor plugs for the suspension. Right now, every time you start the car, there's a light that tells us to service the suspension. It's just a button away really from getting rid of the light. But worst off, the car is limited to 85 miles an hour for the moment. So there are 3 options to get rid of that. You can either, if you're gonna get your car tuned because you're getting some upgrades, sweet, have your tuner just take that limiter off. 2, go to the dealership, get it reflashed. That's another option. Or 3, what Pedders is going to do and will include in any kits that they plan to sell in the US, they're just going ahead and gonna give us the 4 resistor plugs for the suspension to just trick the car into thinking that everything is fine and dandy. For you DIYers out there, the resistance on the stock suspension on all 4 corners is 1.5 ohms, in case you want to do your own thing. Overall, suspension feels great. Right out of the box, can't complain. We set it right in the middle. Again, 1 inch all around drop. Feels very comfortable, but yet at the same time, very confident, inspiring through the turns. Body roll has been greatly reduced, actually, especially from the normal mode in the stock model. In performance, so believe me, the mag ride suspension does actually do its job quite well. But with this better suspension, now you have the ability to adjust your ride height, get your fitment just right, you know? Again, I think the Pedders guys have done a great job of developing the suspension for this car. The car feels very balanced. It's much more, to make a good suspension, it's much more than just making a stiffer suspension and making the car just shudder through everything or just feel like, you know, it's not just controlling body roll, it's the balance between the front and the back, the left and the right. And to get all those dampening settings correct actually takes some development, and you can tell that the Pedders team has actually taken their time to do that because of how good the car feels. So check out the rest of the build on MotoIQ. We may be adding some more parts to the SS, but there are plenty of other project cars to take a look at. So subscribe to our channel. We're going to be coming out with more videos. See you guys soon.